In a luxurious hotel lobby, a black woman stood poised, her suitcase by her side, expecting a warm welcome. Instead, the staff's cold glares and whispered insults cut deeper than she could have imagined, until her son walked through the doors and the room fell silent in shock. She stood at the polished marble counter of the Hotel Eclat, a five-star establishment in the heart of Paris, her posture impeccable despite the long flight from Lagos. Amara Okoye, a 52-year-old businesswoman, had traveled the world for decades, building her real estate empire from the ground up. Her tailored blazer and designer heels spoke of success, but the receptionist's eyes lingered on her skin, not her credentials. Amara's smile was met with a tight-lipped nod, and the air grew heavy with unspoken judgment. "Bonjour, I have a reservation under Okoye," Amara said, her voice calm but firm, her French accented but flawless. She slid her passport and confirmation details across the counter. The receptionist, a young woman with a name tag reading Claire, glanced at the documents without touching them, her lips curling slightly. "Okoye," Claire repeated, her tone dripping with skepticism. She tapped at her computer, her manicured nails clicking loudly in the quiet lobby. "I don't see anything here. Are you sure you booked with us? This is a very exclusive hotel." The words hung in the air, sharp and deliberate, as if Amara had wandered into the wrong place. Amara's jaw tightened, but she kept her composure. She'd faced this before, too many times to count. "I booked the presidential suite 6 months ago. The confirmation email is right there." She pointed to the printed document, her voice steady despite the sting of Claire's implication. Claire barely glanced at the paper. Well, sometimes these things get mixed up. You know how it is." She leaned forward, her voice lowering as if sharing a secret. "We have very high standards here. Maybe you meant to book somewhere more suitable?" Amara's breath caught. The lobby was quiet, but few other staff members lingered nearby, their eyes darting toward her. A bellhop smirked, and a concierge whispered something to his colleague, who stifled a laugh. Amara felt the weight of their gazes, each one a small cut to her dignity. She straightened, her voice cool but unwavering. "I'd like to speak to your manager." Claire raised an eyebrow, clearly amused. "The manager? Oh, he's very busy. I'm sure I can handle this if there's actually a reservation." She turned back to her computer, typing slowly, as if to emphasize her disbelief. Amara's hands clenched at her sides. She'd built a multimillion-dollar company, negotiated with tycoons, and navigated boardrooms filled with men who underestimated her. Yet here, in this gleaming hotel, she was reduced to justifying her presence. "I'm not leaving until this is resolved," she said, her tone leaving no room for argument. Claire sighed dramatically and picked up the phone. "Fine, I'll call him, but don't expect miracles." She muttered something under her breath, too low for Amara to catch, but the snicker from the bellhop made it clear it wasn't kind. As Amara waited, her mind raced. She'd chosen Hotel Eclat for its reputation, its elegance, and its proximity to the conference where she was a keynote speaker. She'd stayed in countless luxury hotels across the globe, Dubai, New York, Tokyo, and never had she been treated with such blatant disrespect. The sting wasn't new, but it was sharp, a reminder of the world's refusal to let her forget her skin. The manager, a middle-aged man with slick back hair and a tailored suit, appeared from a side office. His name tag read Monsieur Dubois. He glanced at Amara, then at Claire, who gave him a knowing look. "What seems to be the problem?" he asked, his tone clipped. Amara explained, her voice measured, recounting the reservation, the confirmation email, and Claire's dismissive attitude. Dubois listened, his expression unreadable, but his eyes flickered with the same skepticism as Claire's. When Amara finished, he picked up the confirmation email, skimmed it, and sighed. "This is highly irregular. We don't have any record of this booking. Perhaps there's been a mistake on your end." Amara's patience frayed. "A mistake on my end? I have the email, the payment receipt, and the booking reference. How is this my mistake?" Her voice rose slightly, drawing the attention of a few guests entering the lobby. She felt their stares, their curiosity, but she didn't care. She was tired of being questioned, tired of being made to feel like she didn't belong. Dubois raised a hand, as if to calm her. "Madam, please, let's keep this civil. We'll look into it, but you must understand, we have strict protocols. Not everyone who claims a reservation actually has one." His words were polite, but the implication was clear. He didn't believe her either. Amara's heart pounded. She wanted to scream, to demand respect, but she knew that would only feed their narrative. Instead, she pulled out her phone and scrolled to the confirmation email. "Here," she said, holding it up. "The booking was made on April 12th for 3 nights, presidential suite. Paid in full. Check your system again." Du Bois took the phone, his lips pursed, and handed it to Claire. "Check it," he said curtly. Claire rolled her eyes but complied, her fingers moving slowly across the keyboard. The lobby felt suffocating now, the air thick with tension. Amara could sense the other staff members watching, their whispers growing bolder. "Probably a scam," one muttered. "Happens all the time," another replied. Amara stood tall, refusing to let their words break her. She'd face worse. Clients who refused to shake her hand, partners who questioned her credentials, strangers who assumed she was a help rather than the boss. But this was different. This was public, deliberate, and humiliating. After what felt like an eternity, Claire looked up, her face paling slightly. There's a reservation," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "Presidential suite under Okoye." Amara's eyes narrowed. "So you found it. After all that?" Du Bois cleared his throat, his composure faltering for a moment. "Well, it seems there was a system error. These things happen. We'll get you checked in now." His tone was begrudging, as if he resented being proven wrong. Amara shook her head. "This wasn't system error. This was you and your staff assuming I didn't belong here. I want an apology." Claire scoffed, and Du Bois's face hardened. "Madam, we resolved the issue. Let's not escalate this further." His words were a dismissal, a refusal to acknowledge the deeper wrong. Amara opened her mouth to respond, but before she could, the heavy glass doors of the lobby swung open. A tall, broad-shouldered man in his late 20s strode in, his presence commanding immediate attention. His tailored suit was impeccable, his watch glinting under the chandelier's light. The room seemed to pause, the staff's whispers dying instantly. Even Claire froze, her eyes widening as she recognized him. "Mother," the man said, his voice warm but firm, crossing the lobby in long strides. He stopped beside Amara, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Is everything all right?" Amara's expression softened, though her anger lingered. "Toby," she said, her voice steady but laced with exhaustion. "Just a little misunderstanding." Tobias Okoye, Amara's son, turned to Du Bois and Claire, his gaze sharp and unyielding. "A misunderstanding?" he repeated, his tone carrying a weight that made Du Bois shift uncomfortably. "Care to explain?" Claire stammered, her earlier confidence evaporating. It was just a mix-up with the reservation. We've sorted it now." Tobias's eyes narrowed. "A mix-up? That's not what I'm hearing." He glanced at his mother, who gave him a subtle nod, as if to say she handled it. But Tobias wasn't done. He turned back to Du Bois. "Do you know who my mother is?" Du Bois opened his mouth, then closed it, clearly unsure how to respond. Tobias didn't wait for an answer. "Amara Okoye, CEO of Okoye Properties. She owns half the commercial real estate in Lagos and has developments in Dubai, London, and New York. She's also a guest speaker at the Global Investment Summit happening here tomorrow. And you made her stand here, question her reservation, and treated her like she didn't belong." The lobby was deathly silent now. Claire's face was ashen, and Du Bois's slick demeanor had crumbled. The other staff members, who had been so quick to whisper and smirk, now avoided eye contact, their heads bowed. Tobias continued, his voice low but cutting. "This hotel is part of the Loran Group, isn't it?" He didn't wait for confirmation. "My mother's company is in talks to acquire a 40% stake in the Loran Group. She could own this place by next month. And you dare to disrespect her?" Du Bois swallowed hard, his face flushed. "Monsieur, I assure you, this was a simple error. We meant no disrespect." "No disrespect?" Tobias's voice was calm, but the steel in it was unmistakable. You humiliated my mother because of your assumptions. That's not an error. That's prejudice. Amara placed a hand on Tobias's arm. Toby, enough. They found the reservation. Let's move on. Her voice was steady, but her eyes burned with quiet fury. She wasn't letting them off the hook. She was choosing her moment. Tobias nodded, but didn't break eye contact with Du Bois. You'll be hearing from us, and I expect a formal apology, not just to my mother, but to every guest you've treated this way. Du Bois nodded quickly, his arrogance replaced by panic. Of course, Monsieur Okoye. Madame Okoye, please accept my deepest apologies. We'll ensure your stay is exceptional. Amara didn't respond. She picked up her suitcase and walked toward the elevator, Tobias at her side. The staff watched in stunned silence, their earlier smugness replaced by fear. As the elevator doors closed, Amara let out a slow breath, her shoulders relaxing slightly. You didn't have to do that, she said to Tobias, though a small smile tugged at her lips. I know, he replied, his tone softer now. But they needed to learn. Amara nodded, her mind already shifting to the conference, to her speech, to the deals she closed. She'd face worse than this and come out stronger. But as the elevator rose, she couldn't shake the weight of the encounter. It wasn't just about her. It was about every person who'd been made to feel small, unworthy, because of who they were. The next morning, Amara stood at the podium of the Global Investment Summit, her presence commanding the room. Hundreds of eyes were on her, but she felt no fear. She spoke of resilience, of breaking barriers, of building empires against the odds. The audience hung on her every word, unaware of the battle she'd fought just to check into her hotel. Back at the Hotel Eclat, Du Bois and Claire received a formal complaint from the Loron Group's board, prompted by a call from Tobias. The hotel issued a public apology, and new training programs were implemented to address bias. But for Amara, it was just another day, another fight won. She'd keep moving forward, as she always had, her son by her side, and the world would learn to catch up